Ahoy hoy, I'm Pavo and welcome to the Pancast movie review of the Justice League. Okay, before I start, what we do here, we're very small in the whole world of movie reviews and YouTube videos, but even we have got some of the DC hate and the fact that we've had comments on videos saying that we just love Marvel and we hate DC. That is not the case. We have on when we've spoken about Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, we've come down very hard. Personally, I come down very hard on those movies because I thought they weren't good movies, and I stand by that. They weren't good movies. So that doesn't mean to say that I went into Justice League not wanting it to be a good movie. I was hoping and praying that it was going to be what I wanted it to be. I will quite freely admit that I love the Marvel movies. And the reason I love the Marvel movies is because pretty much they've been good movies. Sometimes not as good as others, but the majority of them work. And I think the reason that it works is because they set it out in the correct manner. They started by doing solo movies and then brought everyone together for the first Avengers, which made it an event. Now, they haven't done that with the DC. Now, I'm not saying that they should copy what Marvel have done. What I'm saying is you're invested in the characters. You're invested in what happens to them, and you're invested in the story, the ongoing story of like a thread that's going through. So I will say, if you haven't seen Justice League yet, there are going to be spoilers. I'm going to talk spoilers about what happens in Justice League. So let's get on to Justice League. Now, obviously, it's been a troubled production. There has been lots of things going on. Personal family tragedy with Zack Snyder, so he was taken off the movie, or he left the movie, and they brought Joss Whedon in, and there's been rumours about he's shot probably 80% of the movie. Then at the when the movie came out, they said no, actually only did about 15-20% of the movie. Henry Cavill having to come back and film scenes as Superman, so it's no surprise that Superman is in the movie. Obviously he's in the movie, and because he was filming Mission Impossible 6 at the time, he had a moustache. And it was apparently written in his contract that he was not allowed to get rid of the moustache. It wasn't allowed. So DC and the filmmakers decided that they were going to CGI the moustache off. Fine, that's fine. But the very first scene of the movie is, I think it's a camera phone or something, and two kids or two people are filming and asking Superman questions about how he feels about Earth and what if he feels about being human. The CGI is awful. I've spoken to a few people who said that they haven't noticed. I'm not sure how you can not notice. It looks like from the bottom of his mouth, from his nose downwards, it looks like a cartoon. It looks shocking. Now, I know that a lot of people in Rogue One thought that Tarkin wasn't good, and I think through the whole, this uncanny valley, I think it's the mouth that they have. I know you can have dead eyes, but it's the mouth that you have a lot of problems with, or the professionals have a lot of problem getting that right. It's the first scene of the movie, so within 10 seconds, I was shaking my head saying, oh no. Oh, please no. And it took me out of the movie, I have to admit. It almost gave me the feeling of what the movie was going to be like. Because every time Henry Cavill is in the movie doing those things, if it's, you can tell that it's a reshoot. Because I don't know how to explain it. And I'm sure when you see the film, or if you've seen the film, if you haven't noticed it, fine. But for me, that was the thing that set the precedent for the whole movie. I thought this is going to be a rough ride, and my heart sank. It really sank within the first 10 seconds. So we then go on. Some of the pluses, I thought Gal Gadot was fantastic as Wonder Woman. I think she binds the movie together. She is the one thing that every time she's on screen, she's like the solid base, which is strange because I thought that Ben Affleck as Batman and Bruce Wayne would have been that. There are times, and I really like Bruce Wayne was the best thing about Batman v Superman, in all of its negativity and all of its foibles and things that were wrong with that movie. I thought Ben Affleck was the best thing. Again, in this one, there are times, because of the reshoots, he looks completely different. There are times when he looks, and I'm an overweight middle-aged man, so I can't say, but there are times when he looks a little bit stodgy. There are times when he looks absolutely cut and he looks chiseled and he looks tanned. So yeah, but there are also times when it just looks like he's going through the motions. Plus the fact, there are times when the whole Bruce Wayne character and Batman character is not consistent. There are times when he's very serious and very gruff and concentrating on doing the job. And then there are times when he's quirky and joking and sometimes almost like he's awestruck and a bit of a fanboy and in love with Superman, so much so that he can't talk properly. Didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense for his character. The Flash was okay, and this is the thing that I think is wrong with this movie, apart from Henry Cavill's face. Very nice, good-looking guy. His face in this movie, I mean. It's when you've got the Flash, when you've got Aquaman, and when you've got Cyborg. I'm not a comic book reader, okay? I flicked through a few. I know nothing about these guys' backstories. And when you have a movie that, most people moan when movies are too long. This movie was 2 hours long, and it didn't feel long enough because we didn't get a full backstory of who these people are. Now, I know that the majority of people that are going to be going to a Justice League movie are comic book fans, superhero fans, and I'm not saying I don't know who Aquaman is and I don't know who the Flash is. Cyborg, I had no idea his backstory. I had no idea why, especially in the trailers, he looked like an Iron Man knockoff. Because, with his face all encased in metal as he's flying, which wasn't in the movie in the end. You need that. And I think that's the thing for people that are, okay, I'm probably geeky than most people, but I'm not a massive authority about comic book characters, about where they're from. And I think if you're relying on your audience to know this stuff beforehand, then it shuts a lot of the casual cinema goers out because they don't know who these people are. Where with Marvel, I didn't know who Iron Man was until I saw the first, I think, 2 Iron Man movies, and then in Avengers. I didn't really know much about Thor. I didn't really know much about Captain America. And I didn't know that until you saw a 2-hour movie about that person. Then it means more when they all come together. They all seem to come together and there's no real rhyme or reason. Obviously, Batman and Wonder Woman are trying to bring them together. Steppenwolf as a baddie, I think there was a reason for why. It had something to do with mother boxes, and they sort of explained what the mother boxes were. But for me, I was on my way out of the movie when they started explaining all of this stuff. And that is the problem, is that if you've got I don't understand why they started off the movie with that scene with Superman. It just didn't make any sense to me because it took me out of the movie. And so then I am then watching the rest of the movie shaking my head while I'm watching it. And I think it is a wrong way to start the movie. I mean, look, Jason Momoa is a charming dude. He's a good-looking dude. I think I'm looking forward to the Aquaman movie, not as much as I was. I wish the Aquaman movie had been before. I wish the Flash movie had been before. Okay, so I don't want this to go on too long, but there are two stings at the end. One sting is Superman, CGI faced Henry Cavill, and the Flash, and they're about to have a race. Now, I believe this is a big thing that happens in the DC comics and has happened a few times, so that's fine. The final scene, which is after all of the credits, Lex Luthor makes another appearance. He has escaped from prison. He's escaped from prison, but he is on this massive boat in the middle of what I'm assuming is Gotham Harbor. It's night, but in broad daylight, if you like. He's out. How they don't know that he's on that boat, I don't know. And then this character, Deathstroke, I think it's Deathstroke. See, that's the thing. Again, I know that this movie is for superhero and comic book hero fans, but I'm assuming just from reading the internet that it's Deathstroke. My wife, who watched the movie with me, said to me afterwards, she said, "Why was Deadpool in the movie?" And I can understand why she would do that. She doesn't know who Deathstroke is. She doesn't know what that character has to do with it. She just saw someone that had things in, like, weapons in the back of him, had this kind of Deadpoolish kind of face, obviously different colour. It reminded me a little bit of the Avengers and the Thanos thing at the end, the sting at the end, and everyone's going, "Why is Hellboy in this?" If you don't know, and there isn't any way, if there isn't any kind of education to it, how are you going to know that? So that was another thing. I mean, overall, I thought the movie, you can tell Joss Whedon's influence on it. You can tell his little quirky little lines, which to me worked so well in Avengers and even Age of Ultron. It didn't work in this. There's one scene when when Cyborg and Superman, I think, have defeated in some way Steppenwolf, and they're led on the floor, and they're both chuckling to each other. They're both laughing to each other. And I thought, really? And it's so obvious they're trying to make Superman into more of a lighter character now, and into more of somebody that's a bit quirky, and saying these. There are some times when it almost felt a little bit like the Vader line in Rogue One, please make sure you don't choke on your aspirations. There were moments like that. I was sort of waiting for the rim shot when Superman said a few things. The way they brought Superman back, I thought was a wasted opportunity. There's all the rumours before that he's going to have a mullet and he's going to have this black Superman costume, and I think even Henry Cavill Instagrammed a photo during the shoot, sort of teasing that, which I thought was a bit unfair, that if you're going to tease that and not pay it off. Obviously, we've got that age-old thing of trailers showing us stuff that isn't in the movie. I could sort of understand it with the whole Zack Snyder, Joss Whedon thing. But there were scenes in there. I mean, Alfred saying to somebody, "You're here. He said you'd come. Let's hope you're not too late." Not in the movie. The scene where Bruce Wayne is looking at some kind of hologram, which to me, and although a lot of people are saying, well, that's obviously Superman, that looks like Supergirl to me. There's a bit of leg showing there. That to me looked like Supergirl, not in the movie. The little joke of when Wonder Woman and Bruce Wayne are talking about him going to see Aquaman, and did he say yes? He said whatever the line is, more or more less. More or less. So he said no. Yeah, he said no. Not in the movie. I read this morning that it's going to hit about $93 million opening weekend. It's unbelievable. If someone had told me, when did Batman v Superman come out? 2015, I think. If someone had told me in 2014 that a Batman v Superman movie won't hit $1 billion at the box office, and a Justice League movie will take less money at the box office opening weekend than Wonder Woman movie, I would be very, very surprised. I wouldn't believe it. But that seems to be what's going to happen. I can't believe it's not going to take. It's going to take less than 100 million. But then I've spoken to some people that are comic book fans and they love the movie. They absolutely love the movie. They said it's everything they wanted it to be. And this is the thing. I think out of all of this, this is the one thing. I was speaking to somebody on Facebook who said that they absolutely loved the movie. They thought it was fantastic. I put a comment on there saying, what about Superman's tash and all these things that bothered me? And I finished with the message with, but look, I respect your opinion. Your opinion is just as valid as my opinion. I didn't like the movie. You did. That's why we love cinema, is because you can have exactly the same piece of art, and it is a piece of art, good or bad, on the screen, and you can have 100 people and everyone will have a different opinion about the movie. That is what is so good, and that's why I love cinema. That is why I love movies. There shouldn't be any vitriol or hate towards anybody that has a different kind of opinion. We've had that. We've had people messaging us saying, well, you just hate DC and you love Marvel, and that isn't the case. I just love good movies. This, to me, wasn't a good movie. This movie was a mess, and I can't believe that DC have ballsed up again with such a massive, massive property that they ballsed up Batman v Superman, and it's all been ballsed up because it has been built on shaky foundations from Man of Steel. I think it's as simple as that for me. They've tried to shortcut it. They've tried to shortcut it and get to the same level that Marvel have got to, but they've done that without earning it. They've done it. If there's the whole point that Superman dies in Batman v Superman, and I felt nothing. I didn't feel any sadness for it because I wasn't involved in that character. Because right back from Man of Steel, I didn't feel anything for that character. So when he made that sacrifice and he died, I didn't give a crap. I didn't care. And that's wrong. You should care when Superman dies in a movie. When it comes to this, and all of the heroes are being banged from pillar to post and smashed through buildings, and there's no threat. Because all they do is they stand up, shake themselves off, and start fighting again. There's no threat. There's no threat to anything. They're always having fights with the main baddie, if you like, in deserted areas. I mean, obviously, Man of Steel was different, which was the part you thought there was actual risk. People were dying, and I've gone on too long. I've gone on way too long than I thought I was going to go. Tell us what you think. Whether you love it or hate it, tell us what you think. Put it in the comments below. But let's not have any hate. You know, respect other people's opinions. Respect other people's views, even if they're not the same views that you hold. And just have a frank and honest discussion about what you love about the movie, what you didn't like about the movie. I, for one, I'm going to give it 2 toes up. 2 toes out of 5 for me. Maybe it'll be different if I watch it again. Maybe I'll get even more angry with the fact that Henry Cavill's beautiful face doesn't look as good with his lip in CGI. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening to my review. And I just hope Star Wars doesn't suck. It's not going to suck. But anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.